ramping up to 40% over 20 seconds. What the f***? That's insane. What the f***? You're gonna... Wait, okay, whoa. Okay. Huh? All right, so all revealed talent trees. Okay, Blizzard showed off the balanced druid hero talent trees at BlizzCon or whatever. First point is free, focuses on the main theme. Each hero talent tree will have 4 choice nodes. It'll choose between doubling down on the theme or not focused on balancing out, and all hero talent trees are this. Okay, so Sand Lane is for Unholy or Blood DKs. I've played a lot of Blood DK. I haven't played it this expansion. I played a lot of Unholy, and I have played it this expansion. More on PTR, honestly. Like, I leveled my DK at the beginning of the expansion. I don't think I've ever gotten it gear. Like, I've tried to gear it in Season 1 and tried to gear it in Season 3, but I barely ever played it. But I have done a ton of PTR keys on DK, just because I find DK really fun until I get really annoyed with its resource capping issues. But anyways, okay, let's see how Unholy DK and Tank DK works. So let's just assume you're playing the normal build right now of Unholy or Blood. So this is what you get for free. Your Death Coil and Death Strike, or you have to choose this. Your Death Coil and Death Strike have a 10% chance to make your next Hard Strike or Scourge Strike become Vampiric Strike. It'll heal you for 3% of your max health, grant you Essence of Blood Queen, increasing your haste by 1.5% up to 7.5% for 20 seconds. So I'm assuming this is going to stack similar to Iron Fur or Festermite, maybe. Like, the question is, every time you press this, does this mean you have permanent 7.5% haste because this keeps refreshing? Or does it mean that it's going to keep falling off like Iron Fur, or it could work like like Festermite, which Festermite is like just horrible design, but if it does refresh, it's just 7.5% haste, which would feel really good for both of those specs. So that's fine. Not to mention, for Blood DK, I don't think you're going to feel this very much, but for Unholy DK, one of the hidden parts of tankiness in this game, and people don't take it as seriously as like cheat deaths or really passive like damage reduction on your character. When you have just passive healing in any way, it's just super, super powerful. Like, it will be the reason you don't notice it because like you're not looking in your death log for it. You're not thinking, oh, I died by 3% of my HP. If I had a little bit more avoidance, I would have lived. But there's so many times where you're just more healthy because of this, and it's pretty good. So kind of nice. I like that. Also, what I'm hoping to see here, and maybe this is asking for a little bit too much, I really feel like Unholy DK in their cooldowns needs to spend more resources. Like, Unholy DK would feel so much better if when, I don't know, any of their big cooldowns are up, like Army, or they have Gargoyle maybe, that like their Scourge Strike spent twice as many wounds and Festering Strike like generated more wounds. So like you're building and spending resources faster because instead of capping on them. Same thing with Runic Power. Like if your Death Coils did 50% more damage but cost 50% more Runic Power, it would just feel so much better. You don't have to do anything with runes, but like I just hope something like that, just personally. All right, so here's the thing I'm interested in for the Sand Lane tree here. Do you have to pick an entire side, or can you mix and match? Like, can I pick this and then do I have to send it down mid? Or do you have to pick an entire side, or can you go like boom, boom, boom? Oh, you get everything. You get everything, and then there's some choice nodes. Oh, sweet. So basically, you get everything that isn't a choice node, and then the 3 choice nodes, you have to make a choice. Okay, cool. So let's just read the non-choice nodes first. When you're in your D&D, your physical damage taken is reduced by 5%, and your chance to gain Vampiric Strike is increased by 5. Okay, so for Unholy, this is... I think for Unholy and Blood, this is kind of not great. I think there's 2 things in the game right now. Both Blood DK and... Well, I guess Unholy DK too. But Blood DK and Prop Paladin having to play in their Consecrate and D&D feels really bad. I will say it's infinitely more of an issue for Prop Paladin. Like, DKs try to be like, man, I hate it too. I have to sit in my D&D. Bro, there's a difference between you not generating as many resources and being more powerful and having more haste in your D&D versus, like, Prop Paladins literally being unable to live if they're not in their Consecrate. That is, like, it's infinitely worse for Paladins. Let's just get that out there. But yeah, this is... I don't like doubling down on this. But they are, so there you go. I don't think it's massive, but I don't know. All the DK specs right now have some elements that make you want to do this, like the haste for standing in it, cleaving obliterates, Scourge Strikes, and Heart Strikes and stuff. But that's what they're doing. All right. Essence of the Blood Queen, which is the haste thing, stacks 2 additional times and increases the damage of your Death Coil by 5% and Death Strike. Both of those are okay. Heart Strike and Scourge Strike extend the duration of Essence of the Blood Queen by 0.5 seconds, and Vampiric Strike increases the extension by 100%. Okay, so this is just further reiterating that this will have 100% uptime. Whatever. Let's not read the capstone yet. Vampiric Strike. When Vampiric Strike damages an enemy affected by Blood Plague or Virulent Plague, it consumes the disease dealing 200% of the remaining damage. Okay. Let me read the rest of this. While Gift of the Sand Lane is active, Vampiric Strike no longer consumes your disease and instead extends the duration by 3 seconds and deals 20% of the remaining damage. What is Gift of the Sand Lane? Oh, the thing at the bottom. Fuck, I do have to read this first. While Vampiric Blood or Dark Transformation is active, you gain Gift of the Sand Lane. It increases the effectiveness of your essence and replaces your Hard Strike and Scourge Strike with Vampiric Strike for the duration. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so basically, when you're in your... let's just think of this as Unholy for a second. When you're... because Blood Decay, it's a little bit whatever. You apply your disease a lot easier. So when you have your A-Bomb up, Vampiric Strike is going to feel insane. I do... okay, so this seems really nice inside of cooldowns. I wonder about this being annoying outside of your pet being up. You know what I mean? Like, imagine you're just consistently losing your disease by getting procs and having to, I'm guessing, outbreak outside of getting your... interesting. Okay, going down. When Heart Strike or Scourge Strike have a 3% chance per stack of this, which should be 5 to refund a rune. Vampiric Strike doubles the chance to refund a rune. Ooh, interesting. Interesting, but again, right now, at least for like the fluidity of Unholy Decay, they certainly are right on that bleeding edge of having the problem of having too many resources. This class has 3 resources, right? You're building and spending wounds, runes, and runic power. And oftentimes, it's actually the correct thing to do to intentionally cap on one to like get Scourge Strikes out during a D&D. Or you keep getting procs of Death Coil and you're just spending it, but then your runes are capping. My only concern with this is that feels terrible regardless of it being good or not. So this needs to come with some increased way to spend those. But that can just be done in the economy of your resources in the expansion, so it's not a huge problem. But if like you were to apply this to current WoW, this is the thing that drives me crazy about Unholy, is like just anytime a class capping on resources feels terrible, and it's something you teach yourself as a DPS in this game to never do because it's just inefficient and you're wasting. But then sometimes on classes you do it and it's by design, or it's because you get too many procs, and that is such an uncomfortable bad feeling, and this would make this so much worse. So maybe it's better next expansion, but yeah, little issue there. Maybe they'll ask that in the interview. We will watch the interview after looking at these as well. So Vampiric Strike has a chance to summon a Blood Beast to attack your enemy. And each time the Blood Beast attacks, it stores a portion of damage dealt, and it dies exploding, getting 50% of the damage accumulated to nearby enemies. Oh, cool. Wow. Unholy Decay is going to be a bit more survivable. Same thing with Blood. I think Blood is still kind of... Blood is weird. If Blood survives the first like 5 to 6 seconds of any pull, they are unkillable currently. The issue with Blood really in any content is like, can they live the grouping of a 29-30 fortified key before they get their flow going? And this doesn't really help that, but also there's a just as good criticism to make where if Blood Decay does do that, then they're just the best tank all the time. So I kind of get it, but yeah. Okay, so those are all really cool. Let's look at the choice notes. So Raise Ally revives players at full health and grants you an absorption shield equal to 20% of your max health. Love that. Anytime you're battle, I feel like every class in the game, when you battle res, you should get some kind of reward for that. Very similar to the philosophy of like Battle for Azeroth when they added like GCDs on all of our offensive cooldowns. That was super annoying, but the ones that did it right actually felt good. It felt really bad when you were just pressing wings, but then now wings just on the global. It's like, I didn't gain anything for this global. But for things like Deathmark, the new Assassination Rogue CD, they basically put Vendetta on the global, but gave you a big benefit for it. Arcane Mage, Arcane Surge being on the global, but gave you that big initial burst, was like a cooler version of Arcane Power, in my opinion. So like, I think they've done it right in the past, and they're learning more and more that like, whenever you have to press a global that does not give you damage, so, you know, your actual cooldown or something like battle res or any kind of utility, it giving you a benefit on top of that is really, really cool. And it always makes those buttons feel better to press. So big fan of that. And Death's Advance and Wraith Walk movement speed bonuses are increased by 10%, and an activating Death's Advance or Wraith Walk increases 4 allies nearby movement speed by 20%. That second part is kind of whatever. Most people wouldn't even notice that or wouldn't plan on it. But that's a fine choice node. Neither of those are super impactful, so I think that's pretty good. Vampiric Aura, your leech is increased by 3%, and while Lichborn is active, the leech is increased by 100% and affects 4 nearby allies. So it'll be 6% leech, obviously not 103, and it'll affect 4 nearby allies. That's very fucking good. That is really, 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 really good. Especially for dungeons. That's fucking good. Okay, Bloody Fortitude. Icebound Fortitude reduces all damage you take by up to an additional 30% based on your missing health. And then killing enemies that grant honor of experience reduces the cooldown of IBF by 3 seconds. So in dungeons, that's all. Wow. Woo! Those are both good. Fuck. Which one would you... I'm pretty sure you'd take Bloody Fortitude. Dude, Vampiric Aura is insane. But like, bro... Okay, what is the thing that hurts you in most dungeons, right? It's like not having enough cooldowns to survive X thing. Like, yeah, Windwalkers stack verse, but the reason they're so tanky is there's never a time in the dungeon where they don't have a button that makes them live X thing. And even though DKs can like rotate between AMS and IBF, you do actually have holes in your coverage. But like this would make that like definitely not a thing. The whole reduces damage you take based on your additional health. I'd be interested to see if this works like... God, what's the name of that fucking talent that under 30% health? It's in their talent class tree. Will the Necropolis. If it works like Will the Necropolis, or if it's like not dynamic, meaning that at 100% health, if something hits you for 100% of your HP, do you get the base DR of Icebound Fortitude, or does it give you the extra 30% because you're taking 100% of your health? Or does it only apply for when you are 30% HP? Both of them would be valuable. But I think the main thing in this is the CDR. Getting the CDR and IBF is like, you're just going to be pressing this shit on cooldown, right? Like if you just kill a trash bowl, you're getting it reduced by 30 seconds. You're actually just going to slam this like all the time. Wow, that's so interesting. Isn't that interesting? What a crazy choice node. I could see the validity of both of these because Vampiric Aura would be so fucking good on certain trash packs too. That's really cool. Okay. 30% leech for your group is insane. It's not 30%. Oh, unless you're adding it up. That's not how that works, though. Yeah. 6% leech on everyone in your party is really strong. Yeah. Let's see. Your Death Coil and Death Strike have a 15% chance to trigger Vampiric Strike when damaging enemies below. Okay, like an Execute talent. Okay. And then Pact of the Sand Lane. You restore 50% of all shadow damage dealt into your Blood Beast to explode for additional damage when it expires. Okay, so just an AoE and single target option. An AoE and an Execute option. All right, this is really cool and really interesting. It's going to be really hard to debate this until we see the other options. Like, for example, I'm mainly looking at this as an Unholy DK. So I'd be interested to see the Unholy Frost tree, and then also for Blood DK to see the Blood Frost tree to compare them. But I think the choice nodes are innately pretty interesting. I kind of like that. Isn't Lichborn 10%? It is, yeah, but I don't think you're giving... I think the... Okay, so your Leech is increased by 3%, and while Lichborn is active, this is doubled. And it affects 4 nearby allies. I think they're referring to the 3% leech. I don't think they're referring to your Lichborn's leech. I mean, if it's your Lichborn's leech, there's no way. Yeah, so you will have 16% leech with Lichborn, which is insane. And you'll be giving everyone else in your party 6% leech from their baseline 3. Or no, your baseline 3, right? Wait, am I reading it wrong? Your leech is increased by 3%, and then that is just full stop, period. And then while Lichborn is active, the leech amount is increased by 100%. No, that could be your Lichborn's leech. Bro, there's no fucking way you are giving your party 20% leech. Yeah, who knows? I mean, we don't have to really sit and debate it. It could be either. I'm pretty sure it's the first one, though. And if you're giving your party 20% leech, that's way too broken. And if you're giving your party 6% leech, that seems pretty fair and very good. So it's probably the first one. And if it's not, they'll probably nerf it. We already looked at the Druid one before. And you see a bunch of question marks anyway, so let's just ignore that. Let's look at the Evoker tree. So this is for Prez and Aug Evokers. And then we'll go ahead and look at the interviews they did as well. The Chrono Warden tree for Preservation or Aug Evokers. Okay. Living Flame is enhanced with Bronze Magic, repeating 15% of the damage or healing you dealt to the target in the last 5 seconds as arcane up to a fixed amount. So when you Living Flame as Aug or Prez, you are also just... That's pretty sick. It's kind of like that talent that stores healing and does damage on your Living Flame based on it, but it's just based on your damage or healing. That seems really fucking good. That's going to be so good for Prez. That's going to be so good for Prez. Holy fuck. That's insane. Okay, let's go down the mid. Tip the Scales, which is the 2-minute thing that lets you do your next overpower. What the fuck is it called? Charge? What is the name of that shit? I'm sorry. I'm like, my brain isn't working today. Empowered. Yeah, fucking empowered. Holy shit. And your next empowered thing for free. Fucking overpower. Increases your haste, movement speed, and cooldown recovery rate by 2%, ramping up to 40% over 20 seconds. What the fuck? That's insane! What the fuck? You're gonna wait. Okay, whoa. Okay, huh? You're going to gain. So turning something that is already giving you your empower ability for free, it is also going to give you. Let's just average it out. Over the duration of the 20 seconds, you will have on average 20% haste, movement speed, and cooldown recovery just on top of it. Or 21%. That's fucking, who cares? That is very strong. That is, I mean, it's not like OP, but it's that's cool. Not OP on its own, but very cool. Oh, it is going to do something weird. If you're lining up your Breath of Eons with 2 minutes, unless you're using the thing on the Aug tree that can give other people orbs to reduce their CDR, your Breath of Eons is going to come off cooldown before other people use it. But I mean, you can just hold it. You're a fucking support player anyway. Who cares? Okay, casting an Essence ability during Temporal Burst causes... Okay, wait 1 second. What the fuck is... Okay, it's this. Okay, creating it... Dude, this thing says during Temporal Burst. I didn't read the name of this. Temporal Burst could mean fucking anything on that tree, and I wouldn't know. So casting an Essence ability during this causes a nearby ally to gain Threads of Fate. Oh, it tells me right after. That's cool. Granting them a chance to echo their damage or healing spells, dealing 15% of the amount again. Oh my god. So it's like Summer, but okay, super insane. So this will be, it depends on what class gets it. So it sounds like kind of like how Summer works, but keep going down, it gets more broken. I mean, yeah, we're gonna keep reading. But that's really interesting because some classes are really bad with Summer. Like for example, if you give Summer to a BM hunter, it like does nothing. So if like you proximity this to someone, it could just be really bad or super insane based on if they have cooldowns. That's really interesting that Prez gets this too, though. Like, that's going to give Prez raid damage value in the raid, and in my opinion, in a really cool way. Like, I think balancing healer damage is super hard. Randomly, it was really good at the beginning of this expansion, and it's absolutely dog shit now. Don't really know how they managed to do that, but I think finding ways to give healers raid damage value is really cool in ways like this. Okay, let's ignore the choice nodes. Let's look at the capstone real quick. So empower spells send up to 3 chrono flames to your targets, and chrono flames have a small chance to grant you essence burst. Okay, so just both specs will just have more stacks of essence burst. I think for a capstone that seems pretty tame, but also probably feels really good rotationally. Okay, hover now warps you through time and space, and its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Hover continues to allow evoker spells to be cast while moving. So you're still going to have you're still going to be able to cast spells while moving, but instead of that little initial dash you do, you're just going to blink. I'm assuming if it's the same duration or the same distance, that's super insane. So in most scenarios, it will make no difference. Like, let's assume the blink takes just as long as the actual hover does now. In most scenarios, those are the same thing. But think about how OP blinks are. So think about Naimu with blinks. Think about the second boss of Galakron's Fall right now, where someone accidentally dispels in the slow zone, and then you as an evoker are just like, how do I deal with this without Wernstone? You could just blink over the thing, because hovering over it would likely kill you. So extremely powerful. Really, really good. Spirit Bloom heals for an additional 30% damage or 30% over 8 seconds. Pretty strong. And Upheaval deals 30% additional damage, whatever, right? For each additional damage over time effect from Upheaval or Spirit Bloom, gain 3% haste up to 9. Okay, so a little bit haste after you cast both these spells. That'll feel good. And then each time you cast an Empower spell, unstable time magic reduces its cooldown by up to 15 seconds. So you're going to get RNG CDR on your Empower spells after using them every time. Could be annoying, could be good. What could make it good is that your rotation never feels the same and you're always improvising and adapting to what's happening. That's fun. But if it's like too random to where like things are always desynced and stuff, it could be weird. I don't know. I don't know preservation enough, but I think for Aug this would be fine. Would also potentially have a ridiculous amount of stops with Upheaval being reduced by that much. All right, so read the choice notes now. Warp reduces damage taken by 30%. Oh my fucking god. So every time you hover, you get a 30% DR that reduces. Oh my god. That's for 2 seconds though. That doesn't matter, bro. That doesn't matter. It's just, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you would take that any day. You're getting, you can now use hover as a, like, oh my god, dude. Really what this does for Aug is it allows you to use your obsidian scales more for group survivability and allows you to use... See, what this would do is you have to obsidian scales for your own personal survival right now as Aug. And that's not always the best for everyone in the group. But now you could hover to survive all the things that obsidian scales used to survive you with if you needed to. Not to mention it just kind of passively being good. Like, for example, right now, Havoc Demon Hunters get a 15% absorb shield during their blade dance. So it only lasts for like a second. But like it actually saves you a lot because like you're doing that a lot. And like it's not as active as blade dance, but you get the point. Hover is up 24/7 almost. No, this is just when you press it. But either way, continuing. And then Warp leaves a trail of motes of acceleration. Allies who come in contact with a mote gain 20% increased movement speed for 30 seconds. So that's interesting. I think you're going to take the other one almost all the time, but I guess it is a little fight dependent. I think you're going to take the first one a lot. The second one is a long time, though. I wonder how many motes spawn. They're both good. First one is obscenely good in High Mythic Plus. Yeah, we'll see. Your int and stamina are increased by 10%, but your cooldowns are also increased by 10%. Interesting. We'll feel less bad with all the CDR you're getting now. 10% health is obscenely powerful. Your intellect is obviously, that's super important, especially as an Aug Evoker, but the stam thing alone is like fucking... Bro, you guys would not even fucking believe if you could just watch yourself play a game for a week. A bunch of High Mythic Plus, a bunch of Raid, and then I want you to watch back all the times you died and then just add 10% health to your character. You probably don't die like 80% of the times you died. Like 10% health is fucking huge. So we'll see. Abilities with 45 seconds or longer cooldowns grant 10% int for 15 seconds, and defensive abilities grant 10% stam for 15 seconds. And essence spells extend the duration of this by 1 second. Oh my, dude. Whoever was making this hero talent tree was fucking cooking. There is so much potential power here. Aug is already like super powerful and also very disliked by a lot of people. This is like insane for preservation though. Like preservation is gaining so much from this. If preservation ends up playing the other hero talent of whatever they get to choose with this, I'd be so surprised. All right, then the middle one here. Empower spells amplify all of your active threads, increasing their power by 100% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 2 times, which is this thing. Oh, whoa. So casting an essence ability during your temporal burst, which is a 2-minute cooldown for 20 seconds, will give a nearby ally threads of fate for 15 seconds. And then when you use an empower spell during that exact same 20-second window, which you'd probably be able to only do twice, maybe 3 times, will empower all of those threads of fate, making them 30% instead of 15, which is literally summer, right? For 8 of those seconds. Okay, very strong. It stacks 2 times. Oh, right, it would go to 45% if you cast... Yeah, man, if you're going for the whole support class thing, that actually does sound really fucking cool. Okay, so like some of you guys, and I'm partly there too, which is like this support class shit is bad. I don't like it. Remove it. If you're there, right? You're gonna hate all this stuff. But if you like don't hate it and you're looking at it for, okay, they're gonna do it, so let's see what they do with it. This is very, very cool. Potentially really OP. Yeah, a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I think really, really fucking smart design if they're going down that road. Okay, and then Prescience has a 25% chance to not incur a cooldown. And then Echo has a 25% chance to not cost essence. Okay, question. If you have Prescience on 5 people, who gets Ebonmite? It'll be the 4 closest Ebonmites, or the 4 closest Presciences to the Evoker? I mean, that's you're all guessing. The real answer is no one knows, because there's no way to know. Sang says it is known. It's 4 closest. Oh, okay, it is known. Shout out Sang in the chat. Dude, I saw a funny post. Where was this? It was in our Discord. Sang, where was that post where you were on the 3 owls? Here it is. Look at this. Some late night Mog farmers up at Liquid Guild, eh? Love to see them out in the wild. Look at Sang out here just flexing on these people. He is triple boxing druids farming Mogs on his fucking mythic Fyrak travel form appearance. I'm not letting him get away with it. The people need to know what he's out there doing to people. Okay, so second tree done. This tree is unbelievably OP. I think they're cooking with high heat. I think this is really cool and extremely powerful. We'll have to see how... I mean, god damn, that sounds so strong. Way stronger than the DK one. Not to say that that's good or bad. I'm sure all these numbers will go through, but I think the design of this is fucking sweet. Okay, Mountain Thane. This is for Fury and Prot Warriors. One of the cooler names of all the things. So let's see where they're going here. Warriors. And I think also Warriors need a lot of love right now. I think they're hopefully next in line, maybe 10.2.5 or 10.2.7 or 10.3, whatever the faded season is called. I hope they get the like touch of paint that Holy Paladins and mages and Red Paladins and rogues and demon hunters and all those classes that got, they weren't like full reworks, but like, you know what I mean? Warriors need one of those like really, really bad. Like there's other classes and specs that need them too, but Warrior specifically has been lacking a lot of direction this expansion. They seem like the idea behind what Warrior does is kind of stuck in the past. I think they need a fresh look. Hopefully this tree right here helps that a little bit. Okay, let's see. Damaging enemies with Thunderclap, Revenge, Raging Blow, or Excuse. A 10% chance to strike one with a lightning bolt, dealing moderate nature damage. And then during Avatar, this happens 50% more often. Oh, that's fucking sick. I don't know how much that's going to happen, but bro, being an Avatar, at least as a prot warrior, and when you're thunderclapping, seeing like lightning shoot everywhere, that's gotta be fucking sick. Also, these should have different values. So Execute, for example, should have a much higher chance than like something that's AoEing a bunch of targets, but fine. Sounds cool. I'm assuming it'll get increased later, maybe. We'll read all of the non-choice nodes first. Let's go down the middle. Lightning strikes now deal low damage to enemies near their target. Damage reduced beyond 5. Okay, interesting. Would like to see that number be 8 for like all classes really, but all good. I really feel like if you're ever capping, certain classes have uncapped, certain classes have 5, certain classes have 8. That is only okay when classes that are square root capped at 5 beat classes on 5, but lose to an 8 capped class on 8. And uncapped AoE is fine as long as on a 5 to 8 target pull, which by the way is like most Mythic Plus pulls, they should lose to classes that are capped at those levels. Right? That's the thing that's never made sense. Uncapped AoE only makes sense existing. Everyone needs to have uncapped AoE on everything, unless the ones that they cap under it can succeed or thrive in those target counts, right? But that's not actually the case. Most uncapped AoE classes beat those classes at 5 to 8 targets as well, which doesn't really make sense. Because, like, I don't know. Well, we can do a whole conversation on that, but just a thought. Okay, more notes. Let's see. Shield slam damage increased by 20%. Bloodthirst and Rampage increased by 10. Super boring, whatever. Sounds good. Lightning strikes have a 20% chance to make your next 2 shield slams or Bloodthirst have no cooldown. Very cool. I can't speak for Fury Warrior, but for Prot, that would feel pretty good. Feel really fucking good, actually. I have no idea how that... I don't know if you like pressing Bloodthirst as a Fury Warrior. Not positive, but... Okay, let's read the left. Storm Strike for Prot. Storm Strike or nature damage your abilities deal is increased by 5%. Okay. Storm Strike damage ignores armor, and Thunderclap damage increased by 50, just flat. That's pretty big. I think when Warriors Thunderclap has done a lot of AoE damage is when that class is really fun. Especially makes Avatar feel great. And Fury, Storm Strike, or nature... What is Storm Strike? Is that the Lightning Bolt thing? I'm unfamiliar with what Storm Strike is. I haven't played Warrior in a long time. It's a hybrid spell class, new damage type. Oh, it's a damage type. I thought it was an ability. Okay, I got it. Physical nature damage. Okay, all good. Maybe I need to read the capstone. Yeah, casting Avatar grants you 2 charges of Thunder Blast and resets the cooldown of Thunderclap. While Avatar is not active, lightning strikes have a 10% chance to grant you... Oh, holy fuck. While Avatar is not active, lightning strikes have a 10% chance to grant you Avatar for 4 seconds. That's a pretty low chance on something that already is kind of low, but very cool. And then Thunder Blast. Your next Thunder Clap becomes a Thunder Blast that deals Storm Strike damage. And then you have the Storm Strike stuff. So Storm Strike or nature damage is increased by 5%, whatever. Let's see. For Fury Warriors, Thunderclap damage is increased by 50, and it generates 5 Rage. And Improved Whirlwind and Meat Cleaver now improve Thunderclap as well as Whirlwind. Okay. That's from some talents. Yeah, 10% chance on a 10% is very low, but also you're going to be doing this every global, so it kind of makes sense. And if you're AoEing, you're shooting out, you're getting multiple every global. That still seems kind of low. Whatever. What's way less important to focus on is the power of this stuff and the numbers, because those could drastically change up or down in a 1-year-long development cycle for an expansion. It's more the design. I think the idea is really, really good. Okay, Shield Slam and Bloodthirst have a 20% chance to grant you Thunder Blast, stacking up to 2 times. Oh, that's sick. And you'll be casting those a lot because of this. And Thunder Blast, your next Thunderclap becomes a Thunder Blast that deals Storm Strike damage. Oh, we already read that earlier. Okay, so that's all the passive stuff. So, increased Avatar uptime. Avatar makes you Giga Pop off. Thunderclap does a lot more damage now. You'll get a little bit of avatar RNG in all of your stuff. We'll see what those numbers end up looking like, but you're just a fucking lightning god, which sounds cool. All right, choice nodes. Storm Shield. Intervening a target grants them a shield for 5 seconds that absorbs magic damage equal to 3 times your armor. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the whole 3 times your armor thing. I have no idea what that number is, but giving someone a shield by intervening them is extremely fucking good. That is going to be very good. It's probably around 30k for Fury on Live. Again, not worried about the numbers, but even if this is just rescue, even if this is a rescue shield, right? It's like 30% of someone's HP. That gives warriors a ton of utility and a ton of value. And that's probably around the level they should shoot for. I don't think it should be as strong as Monk Bubble. But intervening to give other people defensiveness constantly is great. As when I've played warrior, at least I can't speak for DPS warrior, but when I've done a lot of prot warrior stuff, I've always enjoyed intervening other people to keep them alive. I found that to be really fun. So what would be really nice for this too is if you could have, this is maybe a lot to ask for, but the right target, if you're a DPS warrior, the right target for Storm Shield a lot of the times is actually going to be a tank, especially in raids, like on cooldown. But like intervening a tank, you know, you guys have seen the Gromnak Goblin clip, right? You know, that's not good. So maybe you can just never use it on a tank, but maybe having Storm Shield not actually absorb the hit from them too for a DPS warrior would be good. But play the clip. It's a good... Okay, we'll play the clip. It's a fucking all-time clip. I haven't seen this in a couple months, so... All right, the backstory for this clip is very simple. Most of you have probably seen it. It is Gromnak, a notorious, very loud and angry man, intervenes someone for movement, and it ends up being a tank, and he's confused that it was a tank because he thought a goblin could never be a tank. Here we go.
Who's that?
This is very quiet. One second. My Firefox has turned hella down. There we go.
Huh? No way, that's a tank? He's a goblin? No fucking way, that's a fucking tank! Get me out, dude! What a little pussy fucking goblin! Are you fucking kidding me, bro? I'm fucking done!
God, the way it's clipped at the end is it's just fucking perfect, man. It's so good. All right. So, anyways, Storm Shield intervenes a target, gives them magic. All right. Magic absorb. Or no, gives them... No, it does actually only absorb magic damage, which is fine. I mean, what do you guys think? 80, 90% of things that are killing a like DPS or healer in your keys or raid is magic damage. It's like way, way up there. Like most WoW bosses, raid bosses, the only one that comes to mind that would frequently kill people with physical damage was Sludge Fist. Like big mass AoE things you would use this on. It's way above 80 or 90%. The numbers just aren't significant. Really important you don't focus on the numbers. Like there could be a patch tomorrow that makes all this augmentation stuff infinitely worse and way less impactful, and there could be one that increases number here. Because you're doing this every global, they could change this from 10 to 20% and it would just be like unbelievably fucking better, right? Because of how many interactions it has with other things. So again, design important, numbers almost completely irrelevant. This is a year away. Okay. And then Stormbolt. Stormbolt also hits 2 additional nearby targets, stunning them for 2% or 2 seconds. So great change to Stormbolt. I think the stun should be a little longer. So currently one of Warrior's biggest issues is they don't really have any utility or stops in dungeons. Their shout is capped on targets, and Shockwave, I believe this is still true. I can't fucking believe this because we've been complaining about this since the beginning of the expansion. And they've even defended this, but Shockwave is currently a fucking capstone talent. And they tried to make this make sense by making it do more damage and just not getting that that's just absolutely obscene that is a decision you have to make. So, yeah, that's the main thing that needs to be changed. But this has nothing to do with the hero talents. It's just a horrible mistake that hopefully they rectify in the new expansion. Bro, look at this. Avatar, main DPS cooldown. Thunderous Roar, big dam. Spear of Bastion, huge dam. CC ability. Why is this here? This doesn't fit. Some classes actually use their capstones to purely do utility, non-throughput based things. Would Shockwave make sense in like the Shaman class tree? Yes. Does it make sense in the Warrior class tree? No. It doesn't even kind of do that. Anyways, random sidetrack there. Please give Warrior some help. Okay, so they did that. Stormbolt, whatever. Okay. Your attacks generate lightning strikes 15% more often. Okay, there we go. So already we're getting some big help from this, which is... So 15% more is... Oh, God, bad math. Is it 12.5% instead of 10? Because 15% more of 10, not a 25% chance, right? Wait, is it just 11.5? Dude, I'm so fucking stupid. It's obviously 11.5. Jesus Christ. NA education. Okay, so really, really weak. Fine choice node as far as concept and design. You can either choose get procky thing more often, or lightning strikes in general will generate resource. And then now, just in general, revenge, raging blow, and execute damage increase. Oh, wow. Execute increased by 15%. That is a fucking massive, massive thing alone. So basically, do you want rage economy, or do you want this thing to proc more often? Good design choice. Again, the number's not really relevant. Cool. Let's see. Victory Rush increases your max health by 10% for 5 seconds. And Thunder Blast reduces the damage you take by 4% for 5 seconds. So this is like just a defensive node. Thunder Blast, it looks like you'll be doing this every time you cast Avatar twice, and then also get random procs of it when you get Shield Slam and Bloodthirst, and that will just give you a 4% DR on like a decently high uptime. I don't know how Warrior plays right now, but you used to just have Victory Rush. If you have Victory Rush, 100% the first one is better, looking at pure numbers, because you can actually play around that, and it's not random. Not to mention that like 10% health is just way better than 4% DR, even if they were equal, and you can just control the first one. So this is just almost certainly going to be the first one, although numbers not super important. You're basically asked to choose, do you want a controllable max health increase or kind of passive 4% DR by just pressing buttons? That's a pretty good choice node. Those are something that could be better or worse based on the fight. So I like the choice node. We'll see what that number ends up being. Let's see here. So chance for lightning strikes to critically hit is increased by 5%. That's dog shit. And their critical strike damage increased by... That's super bad. Then the second one is lightning strikes reduce the cooldown of Ravager specifically by 0.5 seconds. So choice node concept, damage on lightning strikes, or CDR. I like the concept. Both of the numbers of these are hilariously bad. Would need to be changed, but interesting concept. Okay, so Mountain Thane. Personally, I think this is awesome because I don't know what Mountain Thane means, but you're just like a fucking beefy lightning god shooting lightning bolts everywhere. And if that's the class fantasy, if that's what they're going for, the fucking Thor build, I mean, that's exactly what this is, right? Like, that's fucking sick. I don't know about gameplay-wise. Like, getting free shield slams feels good. Not sure about Bloodthirsts. The defensive node is fine. All of the choices you have to make here are pretty good. We'll need tuning for sure, but I like the idea, and I like the theme of it. Seems awesome. All I'm going to say is Mountain Thane mains are going to be pulling in a lot of women. They have to be. I mean, if you're just in a... If you're in a dungeon and you're just a lightning god, I mean, what can they even say? Or men, whatever you want. You get it all, right? Paladin. The Lightsmith tree is for holy or protection paladins. All right, let's check this out. The Lightsmith tree is for holy. Lightsmith, also pretty low tier name. So Sand Lane, pretty cool name. Chrono Warden, whatever. Mountain Thane, insanely cool name. And Lightsmith, pretty dog shit name. So let's see if the name follows the power here. Okay, Divine Protection icon. While will the light to coalesce and become manifest at the target location as a holy armament, very epic, which may be wielded by you or your allies. Whoa. Okay, what's the cooldown on this though? Will the light to coalesce to become manifest at a target location as a holy armament, which may be wielded by you or your allies, alternates between Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon, lasts 20 seconds after being cast, max 2 charges. Okay, so we know it has charges, which means it has a cooldown. We just don't know what the cooldown is. But either way, okay, it alternates between these two things. Holy Bulwark. While wielding a Holy Bulwark, gain an Absorb Shield for 15% of your max HP, and an additional 5% every 2 seconds, stacking up to 30%. So it's a little Absorb, and you can give this to anyone, right? Someone else can, I guess, pick this up. It'll look like an Odin shield that you can, like, pick up, I guess. I don't know, something like that. Maybe a little bit less visually big. I don't know. And then Sacred Weapon. While wielding a Sacred Weapon, your spells and abilities have a chance to deal additional holy damage or healing. Okay, so like kind of like Summer already, like you're giving, yeah, so it's like kind of like a little baby Summer and then a defensive version of this. So I like the idea of Holy Bulwark. Like Sacred Weapon's kind of boring. You're probably just going to give that to the same person or whatever. Maybe someone just like runs over it, just kind of minorly impactful. Holy Bulwark is kind of interesting though. Like giving that around to like people in like a Mythic Plus dungeon to be able to live certain big hits that might go on a different person every time you have to communicate it. That seems fun. I mean, as a healer, there's nothing wrong with healers having utility to keep people alive on certain damage events and stuff. That's perfectly fine. Sacred Weapon just depends on its power. I like the fact that it's alternated. Some people won't like this because Sacred Weapon just seems like no one wants... There's a lot of people who, well, actually, strange enough, there's actually not a lot of people, but the people who feel like this are very, very loud and very, very angry. That like do not like the PI, do not like the AUG, do not... They just want people to... Like, I kind of find myself in this camp. I kind of wish none of that stuff existed, especially recently with AUGs, like, kind of ruining details meters. And not even details meters, but actually logs, because to this day, augmentation logs are completely inaccurate, and the people they are buffing are not attributing the damage back to the AUG. So really no one knows how good anything is, at least exactly. But, you know, this could be seen as, like, another PI, kind of. But, like, just depends on how strong it is, because, like, when you are giving your class abilities to do extra holy damage or healing... That often doesn't work on pets or guardians or things like that. It's like certain classes are really bad for this, and I don't like that either. Summer has that issue currently. What is it? Boohoo ruins logs? No, I'm not even talking about logging, bro. No one in our guild gives an absolute fuck about like public logs and ranks and stuff like that. It's just this. Like when you're... Here's the worst thing that AUG did. Is like people have details on their UI for a reason. Sometimes you do like... You get like really good procs and you're trying to just like glance over and see if you're owning. Or if you're like... you know, not doing really well, you're like, damn, look at that class is doing really well. Now, when you look at your details meter in game, this is a whole other conversation, but like, it's just totally irrelevant. Maybe that person who's doing more than you got more AUGs than you, or got AUG'd at a better time. Maybe like you just popped all your cooldowns, but you're low and you don't even know. Or you popped your cooldowns and you're really high. You don't know whether you actually did that or if someone AUG'd you. Like, it's a way to gauge your performance in the moment. It's not... Some people take this and think it's like always this toxic, like elitist thing, but like, no, it's like some people play the game like that and appreciate seeing that information, and it's just not there anymore. I think it's a big problem. And as far as I can tell, the worst part about it is Blizzard's doing it on purpose. They were asked in an interview, and it wouldn't matter anyway because log hooks are just broken right now, so it would still be inaccurate, but they made it sound like the reason that it doesn't work in details is not a technical limitation. The way they answered the question almost made it sound like, well, it did make it sound like they could do it, but they actually want it based on fantasy to like, if you're an AUG evoker, you should see the details meter and see how much damage you're actually giving them instead of it being the other way around, which is like a big problem. Anyways, I'm not going to go super into this because that's a big separate discussion, but like, yeah, I think it's a big problem. Okay. So overall, kind of whatever. I mean, this is for Holy and Prot, so like it makes sense it's more supporty because tanks and healers are both support classes, in my opinion. If an ally picks up an armament, you also gain its benefits. If you pick up an armament, a nearby ally also gains its benefits. Okay, that's great. So ideally, you'd put it on a person, but if not, you'll still get the same value. It'll just probably be a little bit more spread out, not as controlled. When an armament fades from you, the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced by 15 seconds, and you gain Shining Light or Infusion of Light. Okay, that's actually really cool. Depending on, again, we don't know the cooldown of this, but that's nice. Lay on Hands is always good. Having more uptime on that is, or having that up more often is good. The effect of your active aura is increased by 33% on targets with your armaments. Oh, so Devotion Aura... Well, it would just be Devotion Aura, right? Because Ret Aura's actual aura doesn't do shit. It's just when it, like, procs. Or maybe it does. So you'd have a 4% DR. I mean, that's, like, super, super mid, but maybe that number changes. I mean, that's fucking... Yeah. Needs to be a lot better. Your Judgment crits cause a shockwave around the target, dealing additional holy damage or healing at the target's location. Sure. So Judgment becomes an AoE thing. Kind of, yeah, okay. There's been a couple of tier sets that have kind of played around with your single target abilities do AoE now. I think those are kind of interesting, so we'll see. Consuming Shining Light or Infusion of Light, which again, you'll get more of because of this thing. It'll extend the duration of any active armaments by 3 seconds or reduce the cooldown by 3 seconds if none exist. That's going to feel great. That feels really good. And then if an ally picks up... Okay, cool. Okay, down here. Avenging Wrath summons a additional Sacred Weapon, and during Avenging Wrath, your Sacred Weapon cast spells on your target and echoes the effects of your holy power abilities. Okay, so potentially really strong, makes your wings better. I think this is really good for Prot specifically, or sorry, Holy specifically, because Holy Paladin has never really felt like it's had a meaningful cooldown. Like, for example, when I raid lead alt guilds or alt runs or heroic splits or anything outside of Mythic, because in Mythic I delegate healing stuff to someone else, I will make plans around him being up, around Salve being up, around Trank, around Revival, around Druid, what used to be Druid Convoke before the change. Rewind, Preservation having a bunch of sauce at the moment. Just like every healer besides really Resto Shaman and Holy Paladin Like when a Resto Shaman has Healing Tide totem up, that doesn't change anything I'm going to do or what we're going to do. If a Holy Paladin has wings up, that does not change anything for me. It's not, it's good the way it works. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't think every healer needs to live or die based on their cooldowns. In fact, Paladin, until this recent patch, was a really good healer to have alongside those burstier healers because they just kind of had healing all the time. But like that being said, you as a Paladin want to feel more powerful when your things are up. So I think this is just as a concept is really, really good. Making your Avenging Wrath feel better. But it does sound purely damage based, right? Am I reading this wrong? It will summon an additional weapon, and during Avenging Wrath, your sacred weapon casts spells on your target and echoes the effects of your holy power abilities. But you're usually not targeting, well, I mean, you're targeting them with mouse overs and stuff. Okay, so it might actually just be purely damage or healing based on whatever you're doing. So yeah, okay, it'll do both. So interesting. I wonder how, that sounds good. Okay, choice notes. Although also, I'm glad they're only releasing 4 of these at a time. Can you imagine if they just like dumped all of these and oh my god, my brain would overload. Even 4 of these is really cool and interesting to think about and see where they're going. Not to mention, I imagine it makes more sense for them to work on these as a group on multiple of them at a time and making sure they're a lot better rather than like assigning every single hero talent to a different person and like coming back and seeing what everyone did, you know? They kind of did this with talent trees and I think they learned from that. All right, choice notes. Imbue your weapon with the power of light, increasing your armor by 5% of your primary stat by 1%. Lasts 1 hour. It's a weapon imbuement. That's horrible. Would need to be a lot higher than that, and it's also boring. Imbue your weapon with the power of the light, increasing your stamina by 3% and causing your holy power spenders to sometimes unleash a burst of healing around a target. Okay, that sounds incredible and really good. So second one, good. First one, maybe completely remake that. Good. All right, over here. Each holy power ability cast, your next consecration does additional holy damage or healing split across all enemies, or allies, obviously, up to a fixed total. For each holy power ability cast, your next consecrate does additional damage. Okay, whatever. Really just don't like consecrate in general. And then prop paladin, they've gone too hard on it. Super boring, doesn't feel good. But also that could change with like them adding a few options to it. But yeah. Okay, casting a holy power spender increases the damage and healing of your next crusader strike and blessed hammer or hammer the righteous by 100%. Okay, both of those seem kind of whatever. Actually, unless that blessed assurance thing stacks, you'd have to like change the way you play to make sure you're always doing one after another instead of chaining. Yeah, whatever. Okay, while wielding an armament, the duration of fear effects is reduced by 50%. Okay, probably a PvP thing. I don't think you ever really think about that in PvE. It's either like you line of sight the fear, you interrupt and stop the fear, or you are finding a way to immune the fear. Ever being feared for half as long, the amount of applications of that being relevant in PvE for years and years and years and years is just like almost nothing. It's like maybe you feel a little bit better on sets where you don't bubble on the first boss in Mists of Tyr and Scythe, and like that's actually it. So super weak, but probably just a PvP thing, I think. And then enemies within 5 yards of Hodge are slowed by 15%. Also, man, this whole tree just, I mean, this is just, forget power level, just purely design. This is an absolute stinker compared to these other 3. I mean, if I'm a paladin, if I'm a prot or holy paladin, I'm like, damn, that is, they need to completely redo this, I think. This is just really, really, really weak. Oh, God. Yeah. The name's bad. The talents are bad. They're weak. They're uninteresting. What a bad time for that, too. Outside, well, prop paladin's really good right now, but holy paladin is really weak right now. And on top of that, in an even worse way, they did what you hope never happens to you. Whenever your class is really powerful, you hope when they inevitably nerf you, they nerf your class's power and not the way it plays and feels. And when they rework class this expansion, the main thing they're actually changing is changing how good the class feels to play. Forget tuning. Guardian Druid played and felt unbelievably better after the change. Red Paladin felt unbelievably better after the change. Demon Hunter, oh my god. Inertia Demon Hunter is the best that class has been since like Legion Momentum, and in my opinion, it's better. You know, like these rogues, like these classes are playing better than they ever have before. Yes, they're powerful. I believe they're intentionally making them powerful, and they're just more fun. And unfortunately, all the good deeds they did to go make Holy Paladin feel a lot better in their rework in 10.1.5, they kind of threw it all away by nerfing the class that was certainly needed to be nerfed, but they nerfed it to where the class is significantly less fun to play. Pretty much the entire Holy Paladin community is crying about this, and I think they're rightfully doing so. But yeah, so Holy Paladin needs to go back to the way it was playing in 10.1.5, but just be weaker. They need horrible. Like the last time I think they did a change as bad as what they did to Holy Paladin in 10.2. If you guys remember, maybe if any of you guys tanked any tank mains that like fought him reroll, which most tank players do, it's very normal, or just Prot Warrior players in general will know how bad Prot Warrior, the difference between Season 4 BFA Prot Warrior, and it was like by far the best tank, and then first season of Shadowlands, the design change from like how good Warrior felt in the end of BFA to how bad it felt at the beginning of Shadowlands, that was like one of the biggest fumbles of class design I've ever seen. This Holy Paladin, from the good changes they made for all the right reasons, just to see them kind of move away from that in this patch is like really, really sad to see. So hopefully Holy Paladins get that figured out, and then certainly it's not any more helpful to see the first thing you're seeing of your new class in the new expansion and it's this garbage. So pretty brutal.